Chapter 1. After the college entrance examination, my parents abandoned me to take their adopted daughter on a seaside vacation, only to tragically encounter a typhoon, leaving no trace of the three of them. Upon receiving the news, I remained composed, shedding neither tears nor lamentations. I promptly canceled their identities and retrieved the death insurance I had purchased in advance, resulting in a staggering compensation of $100 million. My fiancé harshly berated me for being obsessed with wealth, yet he remained oblivious to the fact that I had been reborn. In my previous life, upon learning of my parents and their adopted daughter's demise, I wept to the point of fainting several times. I not only took on the immense debts they had incurred but also relinquished my university aspirations to toil away in order to repay them, all to safeguard our ancestral home from the clutches of creditors. Throughout this ordeal, my fiancé stood by my side, offering words of encouragement during the late-night hours when I returned from delivering takeout. Yet he never provided me with a single penny of assistance. By the age of 35, I had exhausted my health to settle the debts, leaving me aged and weary, as if I were already in the twilight of my life. On my birthday, I decided to treat myself to a modest $10 cake to celebrate. Just as I prepared to blow out the candles, the door swung open. My parents and the adopted daughter, who were supposed to have perished in the tempest, entered dressed in high fashion, their expressions haughty as they looked down upon me and smiled. "Well done. Now we believe that you are not someone who loves money. You've passed the test, and are thus qualified to be the legitimate daughter of the Jiang family. Qianqian, it's all thanks to your brilliant idea," the adopted daughter remarked with a faint smile, elegantly leaning closer to extinguish my candles with a soft breath. The sole glimmer of light in my 20 years was extinguished in that moment, and a heart attack triggered by fatigue struck, causing me to collapse lifelessly. When I opened my eyes again, my family was preparing to brave the storm for their seaside excursion. Silently, I procured a substantial accident insurance policy for them. This time, my sole intention was to ensure their permanent disappearance from this world. Chi-Chi, if you had been a bit harsher back then, you could have persuaded them to stay. Why weren't you willing to resort to self-harm or starvation to make them reconsider? Honestly, you were too selfish, never truly considering your family's safety. Now, this mess is yours to clean up, and you deserve it. Listening to my fiancé, Chi Mukin scolding, I opened my eyes from the darkness. The day had finally arrived when my parents, accompanied by the adopted daughter, feigned their demise, compelling me to abandon my studies and bear an astronomical debt. A smile involuntarily crept across my lips, and Chi Mukin paused, taken aback by my unexpected reaction. Are you in shock? Your parents are dead. How can you possibly smile? Without even glancing at Chi Mukin, I turned over and retrieved the hefty commercial insurance policy I had purchased for the three of them, cradling it in my arms, tears of joy streaming down my face. In my previous life, Chi Mukin had berated me in a similar fashion, accusing me as the daughter of my parents of failing to foresee the risks and not sacrificing my life to prevent them from taking the adopted daughter, Jiang Qianqian, to the beach. He claimed I was cruel, knowing full well that Jiang Qianqian's academic performance was inferior to mine, yet I had exerted myself to achieve top marks. If I had performed slightly worse, Jiang Qianqian would not have thrown a tantrum, and my parents would not have insisted on leaving me behind for her sake. In short, all of it was my fault. At that time, I was merely 18, sheltered within the ivory tower of academia, deeply troubled by his words, and I resolutely abandoned my studies to shoulder a debt of $10 million. I worked late into the night at a street stall, delivered takeout by day, and drove for ride-sharing services in the early hours, my skin peeling from sun exposure, my hair withered from malnutrition, and my hands calloused from labor. Countless nights, I cried from exhaustion, yet I dared not cease my toils. I feared the Jiang family's honor would crumble in my hands, and I dreaded the disappointment in my parents' eyes should I choose to end my life. Little did I know, all this absurdity was merely a test devised by my adopted sister and parents. I had endured enough of this contest for affection against the adopted daughter. Since you are so determined to feign death, this time, I shall personally send you to the depths of hell. Chapter 2. As I flipped open the insurance policy, my fingers trembled as they brushed against that astronomical figure. Greetings. The news of my parents' and sisters' demise has graced the headlines of major news outlets, and I kindly request that the compensation totaling $100 million be transferred to my account at your earliest convenience. Opposite me, the president of the insurance company wore a pallid expression, incessantly inhaling oxygen. Damn it. What kind of luck is this? Just after purchasing the insurance, General Jiang truly met his end. How unlucky can one be? Cursing aside, I had specifically spent a considerable sum to consult an expert before purchasing. ensuring that this insurance was meticulously aligned with the circumstances of the three individuals being swept away by the typhoon, leaving no room for loopholes. The insurance company was obliged to indemnify. Soon enough, the sum of 100 million was indeed deposited into my personal account, and as I counted the zeros, tears threatened to spill. In my previous life, to save money, I subsisted solely on boiled noodles, sparingly adding a pinch of salt, too frugal even to purchase pickled vegetables. To economize on utilities, I refrained from turning on the lights at night, relying on public restrooms in shopping malls for my daily ablutions, enduring disdainful glances. Once, as the esteemed daughter of the Jiang family, I was toppled by a vehicle while delivering takeout, lacking medical insurance. I hesitated to visit a hospital and instead bought a roll of tape from the roadside, binding my lacerated wounds, fervently hoping they would heal. Ultimately, an infection set in, leaving me limping until my last breath. Chi Myukin seized the opportunity to call off our engagement, and I found myself utterly alone. Yet still felt guilty for being a burden to him. A single tear fell onto my phone screen, and I could hardly discern whether it stemmed from hatred or relief. Sniffling, I strode out of the insurance company, colliding with Chi Myukin, who had been trailing me. His eyes widened in astonishment as he hurried over, reaching for my phone. Jiang Sanchi, your parents have passed away, and instead of arranging a funeral, you come to the insurance company. Do you possess any semblance of conscience? I recall that uncle and aunt never purchased insurance from this company. Let me see how much you've claimed. I promptly turned off my phone screen, bent down, and dove into a taxi, slamming the door with force. Driver, to the household registration office. The driver sped away, leaving Chi Myukin behind, as I nimbly ascended the stairs. Directly handing over all the necessary documents, my eyes brimming with tears. My parents and adoptive sister have passed away. I am here to cancel their household registrations. The staff member responsible for household registrations quickly grasped the situation. You must be the girl from the headlines in the newspapers these past few days. Such a pitiful child, having achieved the top rank in the city only to face such calamity. Your parents, how could they leave behind such a fine daughter? Dragging an adopted daughter into a typhoon, it's as though they were jesting with their own lives and the future of their child. With eyes full of sympathy, she chattered on while swiftly processing my request. As all information was entered into the system, my parents and adoptive daughter Jiang Qianqian completely lost their identities in this world. I hung my head, striving to suppress the rising corners of my lips. Just as I received the certificate, a furious voice erupted from behind me. Jiang Sanchi, what do you think you're doing? Chi Myukin stepped forward, snatching the certificate from my grasp. Upon a mere glance, he trembled with rage. Who gave you the audacity to cancel their registrations? How will Qianqian attend university in the future? Chapter 3. The tears of my cheeks had yet to dry when the surrounding staff, already filled with sympathy for my loss, immediately stepped in front of me. Hey there. What are you shouting about? Jiang Sanchi lost her parents and sister to a natural disaster. She is the one suffering the most from this decision. You, as her friend, should have been advising her instead of shouting. If you raise your voice again, we will have you removed. Chi Myukin's curses caught in his throat. His face flushed crimson as he pointed a finger at me. How could I have underestimated you, Jiang Sanchi? The funeral hasn't even been held yet, and you have already erased their identities. How blind I was. I turned my back on the staff, facing Chi Myukin with a provocative smile. And what will you do about it? His expression froze, panic washing over him. He shot me a fierce glare before swiftly turning to make a phone call. No need to guess, I already knew who he was calling. Jiang Qianqian, my adoptive daughter, my parents' most cherished daughter. The one who had taken everything from me in my past life. No longer concerned about their scheming, I hummed a little tune as I contacted a funeral service, opening the gates of the Jiang family villa to organize a straightforward funeral devoid of a body. As the funeral commenced, a group of burly men adorned with tattoos burst in. The leader seized my collar, lifting me off the ground while glaring into my eyes, brandishing a stack of IOUs. You didn't die in the typhoon, consider yourself fortunate. However, if you cannot repay the debts of the Jiang family, things will not bode well for you. In my previous life, I had been intimidated by this group, and with Chi Myukin's prodding, I had to swallow my tears and acknowledge a debt of 10 million. But this time, I bit down hard on the hand that clutched my collar. This is my parents' funeral. Unauthorized personnel, please leave. We will discuss matters another day. The leading thug yelped in pain from my bite, his anger boiling over as he slapped me across the face. You wretched girl, just as old Jiang said. You're truly ungrateful. Understand this. I am your family's creditor. I cupped my swollen cheek, my eyes darting to the IOU. 10 million? Do you think I'm a fool? Seeing my calm demeanor, their bravado diminished significantly. What do you mean? This IOU is clear as day.
Indeed.
The IOU detailed the date, amount, and bore my parents' signatures. Yet I simply refuse to acknowledge it. If you can present a cash flow of 10 million, I will consider repaying. Gasps echoed among them. They certainly had no cash flow. For this IOU was entirely fabricated. My parents had previously conspired with them, putting on a facade, splitting the proceeds once the money was acquired. All the blood, sweat, and tears I had endured had been transformed into the jewelry and bags adorning Jiang Qianqian, serving as her capital to flaunt in foreign circles. After a prolonged silence, the leader spoke again. What cash flow? We dealt in cash. I burst into laughter. Oh, really? Then show me the withdrawal records for the 10 million. Don't think I don't know that 10 million in cash weighs 300 pounds. Are you all mad? Carrying around 300 pounds of cash to lend to someone else. The group stood there, utterly dumbfounded. I smirked, coldly gesturing for them to leave. Just then, a thunderous voice rang out from the entrance. Jiang Sanqi, you ungrateful girl. The newcomer moved with astonishing speed, almost instantly reaching me and delivering 2 resounding slaps, causing blood to seep from the corner of my lips. I squinted at the intruder. Chapter 4. It was none other than my dearly beloved parents. Mom and Dad. I was just dealing with these opportunistic debt collectors. Why are you angry? Wait a minute, how are you alive? Chi Mukin had personally delivered the news of their deaths, disseminating it through both newspapers and online platforms. What on earth was happening? My barrage of questions froze their hands mid-attack. Dear sister, shouldn't you be happy that our parents are safe? Why do you question them the moment we meet? Jiang Qianqian stepped forward with a poised demeanor, casually diffusing the tension. My parents nodded in agreement. Indeed, we encountered the typhoon, but fortunately, Qianqian remained composed and saved us during the storm. I remained silent, observing the 3 of them. Truly, a family that would concoct a fake death to test me. They lied without so much as a change in expression. My mother scanned the room, covering her mouth and nose in disgust. Hurry and remove these things, then apologize to Qianqian. It's absolutely revolting. My father wore a similar expression of displeasure. Jiang Sanqi, your behavior has disappointed us greatly. Go to the household registration office and restore our identities. Without our identities, how can I manage the company in the future? Jiang Qianqian smiled as she assisted the 2 individuals to sit down, then turned to look at me. Hurry up.
Sister.
You wouldn't be upset that we returned from the dead, would you? I remained motionless in my place. I apologize, but legally speaking, the 3 of you no longer exist in this country. Furthermore, father, you need not worry about the company, for upon your demise, I have inherited everything as the primary heir and become the new shareholder. At my words, an eerie silence enveloped the entire morning hall. Father inhaled sharply, clutching his chest. Mother's expression twisted in fury, her gaze directed at me filled with a loathing that seemed to wish for my immediate demise. Jiang Qianqian screamed, swiftly producing a heart-saving pill. Mom, Dad, are you alright? You wretched Jiang Sanqi, are you so eager? She spat. Everything belonging to the Jiang family is mine. Once father recovers, you will return it all to me. I took a step back, crossing my arms, coldly observing the trio who had once seemed like family to me. That will depend on your capabilities. With that, a wave of exhilaration washed over me, and I savored a sip of tea.
Indeed.
Jiang family tea is far superior to the tap water I stored in mineral water bottles in my previous life. Noticing my foster sister and mother floundering to support father, I raised my voice to remind them, remember to go to the clinic. The hospital won't be able to assist you without your identity information. Jiang Qianqian cursed in frustration, while my thoughts lingered on the property, cars, and shares I had recently inherited, contemplating a change of venue. As I ascended the stairs, I suddenly heard footsteps behind me. I turned to see Chi Mukin's menacing visage, and then everything went black. When I awoke again, the daylight was glaring. My head throbbed painfully, and as I struggled to rise, I discovered that my hands and feet were bound. Nearby, on the sofa, the 4 individuals who had not noticed my awakening were engaged in a loud discussion. Qianqian, your idea is brilliant. It instantly proves that Jiang Sanqi is worthless. How dare she covet my wealth? It's nothing but a foolish dream. Rest assured, I will force her to sign everything back to you. What wonderful parents I have. Yet, no matter how much wealth one possesses, it pales in comparison to my sister's chance of attending a prestigious university. Don't worry, dear. Mom and Dad have already decided that once we deal with Jiang Sanqi, we will grant you her identity. At that time, you will not only attend a top-tier school but also seamlessly become the biological daughter of the Jiang family. Boundless despair spread within me. I dared not utter a sound and instead twisted my body towards the kitchen, seeking scissors to cut my bindings. In my clumsiness, I collided with a vase at the corner, producing a loud thud. Instantly alert, my parents and Jiang Qianqian rushed towards the sound. Jiang Sanqi, you foolishly presumed to seize our Jiang family. Failing the test, you have only yourself to blame. With that, my parents unleashed their fists and feet upon me. Mother's high heel aimed at my eye. I turned my head in an effort to evade, but the pain in my ear was excruciating. Jiang Qianqian wore that same disdainful smile, surveying my plight with amusement. Sister Sanqi, you can only blame your own greed. She then handed a bone-sawing knife to father. Father, your health is poor. Use this, but be careful not to injure yourself. In a fit of rage, father seized it, raising it high just as a sudden, furious knocking echoed from outside. Is the top scholar, Jiang Sanqi, residing here? Chapter 5. Under the murderous gaze of my parents, the butler flung open the door, ushering in a throng of reporters armed with cameras. Indeed, Miss Jiang Sanqi resides here. A group of individuals, all wearing smiles, strode in, but upon seeing my bloodied face, they halted in their tracks. The lead reporter, astonished, opened the documents he had brought and extracted a photograph, then turned his gaze towards me. You must be Miss Jiang Sanqi. What has transpired here? Elation surged within me, and as I prepared to speak, Jiang Qianqian stuffed a rag into my mouth. No, I am Jiang Sanqi. This woman is merely a maid. She stole my mother's $1 million necklace, and as for my injuries, they are self-inflicted. My parents exchanged glances, immediately echoing her words. Indeed, are you reporters here to interview our daughter? Please come this way. Take this maid to the police station, at once. I never wished to see her again. They donned smiles as they attempted to escort the reporters away, but the journalists, observing the trio, found their hands trembling with their cameras. Wait, you three, weren't you dead? I felt a laugh rising, but the movement pulled at my wounds, causing tears to stream down my face. The butler approached and untied my bindings. I slowly rose, shaking my legs, and smiled at the cacophony of people before me. Their demise was merely an accident. Good day, everyone. I am Jiang Sanqi. Jiang Qianqian's eyes flashed with venom as she glared at me, while my parents clenched their teeth in anger. Don't speak nonsense. They are here to interview our daughter. What business do you have here? Their words flowed seamlessly, as if I, their biological daughter, was merely a stranger. My chest heaved violently, and memories flooded my mind. Jiang Qianqian occupied my room while they urged me to learn humility. She added mango to my food, knowing I was allergic, and they accused me of being dramatic. Jiang Qianqian led a group to bully me, tearing up all my study materials, and they insisted she was pure-hearted and that I was merely fabricating lies. I could not fathom how they could harbor such bias against their own flesh and blood. Had this been in the past, I would have willingly compromised, yielding opportunities and identity to Jiang Qianqian, all for a fleeting acknowledgement of understanding from them. But now, I yearned to extract their hearts and gaze into their true thoughts. Seeing me lost in silence, Jiang Qianqian smirked. You, a mere maid, dream of claiming my identity. You should leave at once. She was emboldened, resolute in her intent. Yes. She knew that as long as my parents spoke, I would always retreat, so she appeared so composed. But what she did not realize was that I had already severed all ties with the Jiang family in my heart. The identity of Jiang family's daughter belongs to you, Jiang Qianqian. Observing our standoff, the reporters stood in shock. What was happening in the Jiang family? One moment they were dead, the next, two girls were vying for identity. It was hard to believe that such disorder lay within a renowned and affluent family. It truly was laughable. Ignoring the murderous glares from my parents, I produced my student ID and identification card from my pocket, raising them high. I believed this would suffice to validate my identity. Chapter 6. After the reporter examined my documents, a smile broke on his face. You are indeed Jiang Sanqi, the eldest daughter of the Jiang family. Could you explain the situation? As a top scholar and wealthy heiress, why are you covered in injuries? My gaze swept over my parents, who were standing nearby, making shushing gestures at me, and I offered a slight smile. It was my parents and my foster sister who assaulted me. As my words fell, the flashes from the cameras nearly blinded me. Father, in a fit of rage, lunged at me, striking me to the ground. Wretched child, who allowed you to twist the truth? You are the one who bullies your sister. We are merely teaching you a lesson, so how could your words distort the reality? I clutched my face, spitting out a mouthful of blood. What? Did I merely expose your plot, and now you are enraged? Don't forget, Jiang. Thanks to Jiang Qianqian, you now possess nothing. Father panted heavily, his bloodshot eyes glaring at me as he swung a fist towards my temple. My vision blurred, and I stumbled into the arms of a female reporter in the front row. When I awoke once more, everything around me was a blinding white. I exhaled deeply. It seemed the plan had succeeded. I knew full well that they had lost their identities and could go nowhere, but would have to obediently return. Thus, I had preemptively sought legal counsel and swiftly transferred all the Jiang family as assets into my name. After the three of us returned home, I, who had initially declined interviews, hastily contacted reporters, summoning everyone to the Jiang family residence. Everything unfolded just as I had envisioned. Yet the true tragedy lay in the fact that it all mirrored my thoughts perfectly. Had my parents harbored even the slightest remorse for me, had they, for a fleeting moment, regarded me as their daughter, the outcome would have been drastically different. Alas, I am Jiang Sanqi, who toiled for 2 decades in my past life. My heart has long since become as calloused as my hands, rendering me impervious to such pain. Upon noticing I had regained consciousness, the nurse, while attending to my bandages, spoke with a look of compassion. Sanqi, we are aware of your situation. Fear not, for the Women's and Children's Protection Organization has already intervened in the investigation. You will surely escape the clutches of the Jiang family's abyss. As she spoke, she pressed an apple into my hand. Here, it's quite sweet. Do enjoy. As I bit into the apple, tears unexpectedly streamed down my face. Since my rebirth, I had endured beatings and insults without shedding a tear. Yet the kindness of a stranger overwhelmed my emotions. There are countless individuals in this world who will love me, and I must bravely forge ahead. After slowly finishing the apple, I leaned against my pillow and opened my phone. The first trending news item that caught my eye was about a top scorer suffering from domestic violence. In the image, I was bloodied and battered, starkly contrasting with Jiang Qianqian, who stood beside me in a white dress. Journalists, known for their appreciation of talent, condemned my parents, portraying them as villains who assisted in the humiliation of their own daughter while attempting to usurp her achievements. With video evidence at hand, they found no ground for exoneration. Chapter 7. The stationery business constituted the bulk of the Jiang family's wealth. With my emergence as a top scorer, all stationery and materials had been swept off the shelves, leaving the factory workers exhausted. However, once the news broke, parents, initially intent on purchasing Jiang family products for their children, were infuriated. Not only did they refuse to buy, but they also demanded refunds. In an instant, Jiang family stock plummeted, turning green, and even passers-by cursed. Even a tiger does not consume its young. The Jiang family is more vicious than a tiger. I savored the vitriol directed at the three of them on the screen, just as I was about to set my phone down for a moment of respite when the ward door was flung open with force. My parents, accompanied by Jiang Qianqian, stormed in, yanking me from my hospital bed. Jiang Sanqi, look at the havoc you've wreaked. I chose to disregard their fury and posed a question they had not anticipated. How long have I been unconscious? My mother pondered for a moment before casually responding, 3 days. This is not the time for such discussions. We VE brought reporters. Quickly help us clarify. It's all because of you, the troublemaker, that the entire Jiang family is in turmoil. Just say you have bullied your sister. It was your instigation that led her to the seaside, putting us all at risk. We had no choice but to vent our anger on you. Now hurry. I took a step back, coldly regarding those whom I was meant to call family. I have been unconscious for 3 days due to you, and you haven't even visited me once. Now you come to me asking for clarification. Dear parents and sister, do you truly believe that is possible? My parents' expressions froze, and Jiang Qianqian immediately interjected. We didn't visit because of your actions. Your behavior has subjected our parents to daily gossip. Their hair is turning gray from worry. And you dare to blame us, Jiang Sanqi? Do you have no heart? I scoffed and stepped forward, delivering a sharp slap to Jiang Qianqian's fair face. She screamed in shock, and my parents lunged at me, but I deftly dodged and shouted, Jiang Qianqian, you wagered our parents' lives against me. Now that you have won, I willingly concede and sever all ties with the Jiang family. Hearing this nonsensical declaration, not only Jiang Qianqian but even my parents were taken aback. What do you mean? What life? What wager? I gazed at them, striving to infuse my eyes with hurt. After the results were announced, Jiang Qianqian claimed that they had never loved me, and wagered that she could make them abandon me, taking her to the most perilous typhoon zone. She even asserted she could make them feign death, leaving me burdened with insurmountable debts while robbing me of everything, condemning me to a lifetime of suffering. I had never believed it, but parents, I did not expect you to go this far for her. My heart feels so weary. I have lost, and I am willing to abide by the wager. To completely depart from the Jiang family. Chapter 8. My parents exchanged glances, fear reflected in their eyes. This situation was known only to us. We had never spoken of it, and only Jiang Qianqian could have possibly divulged it. So this feigned death was all a scheme of yours, Qianqian. Jiang Qianqian was left speechless. She had no idea I was aware of everything, nor that I had returned with an omniscient perspective. With just a few words, this matter could be entirely turned into a conspiracy. No, parents, I never said that. Please believe me. Jiang Qianqian lunged to embrace our parents as she usually would, but this time they instinctively turned away, leaving her unheld. Witnessing this scene, I felt a sense of satisfaction, as the splendid internal strife was finally about to commence. My parents, who held the reins of the Jiang family, despised those who engaged in underhanded tactics. Jiang Qianqian had portrayed her actions as a test of my love for wealth and my worthiness to inherit the Jiang family. Now that I had framed this as a wager, her image in their eyes would be utterly shattered. She would transform from a pure, innocent flower into a cunning and malicious woman, and the losses incurred during this period would undoubtedly be attributed to her. I could hardly contain my anticipation for Jiang Qianqian's tragic downfall. Jiang Qianqian babbled incoherently, claiming she had no knowledge of how I learned the truth. As the three of them quarreled, Qianqian arrived. Qianqian, I am so worried. Before he could finish, Jiang Qianqian slapped him across the face. You're the only one who knows about this, besides our parents. It must be you who leaked the information. Qianqian was taken aback. Qianqian, what nonsense are you spouting? Jiang Qianqian, in a frenzy, tried to shift the blame, grasping Qianqian's clothing as she desperately defended herself. Qianqian, astounded, instinctively sought to clear his name. What could I possibly say to Jiang Sanqi? I can't stand her. Why would I help her? You merely asked me to bring back news of her death and to keep track of her whereabouts for reporting. Beyond that, I know nothing. How could I possibly leak anything? With Qianqian's defense, my parents' expressions grew increasingly grim, ultimately culminating in a slap to Jiang Qianqian's face. We took you in out of kindness, only to discover we have nurtured a treacherous wolf. Jiang Qianqian, if it weren't for you, the Jiang family would not have descended into such disgrace. Jiang Qianqian shrieked, pleading for help from Qianqian. Yet she remained oblivious to the fact that Qianqian had no truth to offer. Whichever Jiang child was favored, Qianqian would favor them. Jiang Qianqian's predicament was painfully evident, and he hastily sought to distance himself from her. Jiang Qianqian was almost driven to madness. But when you seduced me, you professed your love. Qianqian, you promised to help me overthrow Jiang Sanqi and to conspire against her. Now that I am still alive, you want to distance yourself from me? I will fight you. Chapter 9. The two of them grappled, while my parents, with reddened eyes, gasped for breath before turning to me. Sanqi, we truly did not anticipate that all of this was the scheme of that wretched Jiang Qianqian. We were misled by her, and we owe you an apology. We will disown Jiang Qianqian. As they spoke, they opened their arms, awaiting my embrace as if to enact a touching reunion. However, I merely rolled my eyes and turned my head away. No need. I have already issued a public notice through various media outlets, severing all ties. From this day forth, we are mere strangers. A flicker of hurt passed through my mother's eyes. Sanqi, you are the biological daughter of your father and me. How can you be so heartless? My father wore a bewildered expression as well. Haven't you always despised Jiang Qianqian? Now that we are willing to forsake her for your sake, how can you refuse? Gazing into their eyes, tears streamed down my face once more. Do you truly believe that my disdain for Jiang Qianqian is unfounded? Initially, I abhorred her for her superficiality and her penchant for gossip. However, I have since come to realize that it is your indulgence that empowered her, your favoritism that emboldened her to confront and injure me. The greatest torment I have endured has not stemmed from Jiang Qianqian, but rather from you, my once beloved parents. Upon hearing my words, their faces drained of color. No, we are aware of the injustices you faced in the past, yet this only serves to affirm our love for you. Our family, the Jiang family, wields considerable influence. It is imperative that we have a leader who remains utterly composed and unperturbed by praise or blame. Our previous harshness towards you is solely to ensure your future well-being. I never anticipated that, to this day, they would still seek to justify their actions. No, you merely reveled in the taste of absolute power over my helplessness. In terms of psychological distortion, none could rival you. I wish to rest now. You may leave. I pressed the nurse's bell, and promptly, they were escorted out. My parents, their faces haggard, frequently glanced back, while I resolutely shut the door. Once I had gathered my belongings, I booked a flight to university. Before my departure, a classmate brought me news of Jiang Qianqian and Qi Mukan. Jiang Qianqian had been cast out of the Jiang family, rendered utterly powerless. In desperation, she attempted to create a scene at the Qi household, demanding that Qi Mukan marry her, citing their previous relations as justification. Qi Mukan's ambition had always been to inherit the Jiang family legacy, and he regarded the destitute Jiang Qianqian with cold indifference. Unable to bear such humiliation, Jiang Qianqian resorted to physical confrontation with Qi Mukan at the entrance of a villa. The Qi family, known for their fiery tempers, did not take kindly to a worthless individual daring to lay hands on their son, and promptly intervened. Jiang Qianqian found herself beset by 3 individuals, and in her desperation to flee, she was pursued by Qi Mukan, both ultimately caught in the wheels of a large truck. My classmates recounted the tale with vivid detail, claiming the two were crushed beneath the vehicle, unable to be extricated. I smiled faintly, choosing not to comment. This outcome, in truth, felt far too lenient for them. Before my departure, I decided to pay a visit to the tattooed debt collector who had once come to demand payment. It turned out they were indeed part of a criminal organization, but times had changed. They would assist whoever paid them. I produced the IOU they had presented initially and offered them $5 million to pursue the debt. This IOU contained all pertinent details regarding the time, place, and individuals involved. After all, it was a debt of $10 million, the result of 2 decades of relentless toil that had nearly cost me my life. Who wouldn't he desire such a sum? They left in high spirits. My parents were already reeling from negative news and plummeting stocks. Upon encountering the debt collectors, they indignantly accused them of lacking contractual integrity. Please, they are part of the underworld. Tempers flared on both sides, and before long, a brawl erupted. My parents, accustomed to a life of luxury, were no match for the tattooed enforcers. One became a vegetable, while the other died on the spot. An ambulance took away my parents, while the police carted off the gang. Upon learning this news, a genuine smile finally graced my lips. For this was how I could claim full vengeance for my past life's grievances. From this day forth, I, Jiang Sanqi, am without parents, burden-free, possessing only an inexhaustible compensation in my bank account. Such a life was beyond my wildest dreams during my previous existence of washing dishes. Now, a brand new path lies before me. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like to support. Until we meet again in the next story.